Why change works. This change does bridge the differences and vast divides between us by building on truth, which invariably binds, for all of time, you and I. This change does save and start the evolution, beginning with love, as one, now always one for all. This change does prioritize the people by simplifying our systems to always serve every inherently basic human need as free for all. This change does create a way, in a good way, for all on earth to always have what all will need. This change does work for all, for future, for youth, for earth, for all. This change does include you. This change does invite all humans on earth to be as one, with heart, now always one for all. This change does abide exclusively rule of heart, with the greatest of respect, regard, reverence, and responsibility, now for all. This change does protect the sacred as life on earth, and always serve with heart for all. This change does forgive. Truth, love, life, hope, always, now, for all. This change does evolve, as all things do, in time. This change does find and seek, learn and teach, will grow, then be, as always, free. This change does reveal a reality that only we, the people united, can remedy. This change does restore a natural balance to the human-induced imbalances of right now life on earth. This change does move us forward rather than redundantly backwards, left, or right. This change does inspire future leaders to lead with heart in a good way for all. This change does replace politics and politicians with real public service and true public servants. This change does require the willing participation of the public as everyone, everywhere. This change does rebel as extreme by truth and radical through love. This change does forfeit our jobs in favor of heart work for all. This change does cease selling and start giving, since sacrifice as charity is love. This change does emulate, not idolize, the divinely embodied way and truth of life as one on earth. This change does leave the paychecks, the taxes, the governments, the economies, and the stocks to Caesar, then give unto our Creator a life with heart for all. This change does nullify every asserted reason for the separation of peoples or the walling off of borders. This change does counter the lies, fake news, misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, and deceit with simple truth. This change does collaboratively approach finding creative solutions for the many problems and ominous threats facing our world today. This change does combine all the answers that we as individuals do have in order to form an infinite idea bank from which we can draw eternal inspiration. This change does ensure election integrity for all by free will now choosing for all. This change does amplify the repeatedly repressed voice of one people with one vote. This change does honor a truly pro-life way of life as living for all, for life. This change does give all humans on Earth a chance to survive. This change does help rather than hurt, forgive rather than hate, and try rather than terrorize. This change does understand that if the people would simply stop fighting, then the fighting will simply stop. This change does know that the only difference between a tool and a weapon is choice. This change does offer a non-binary choice for the free who feel innately uncomfortable with limited options. This change does allow the chooser to feel good about their choice. This change does prove that good is always greater than even a lesser of evils. This change does provide a timely alternative to the same old red or blue, with a contrast of something new. This change does participate, the art of peacefully protesting whilst actively participating. This change does appeal to the reds, the blues, the greens, the independents, the undecided, the uncommitted, the disillusioned, the disenfranchised, the disappointed, the dissatisfied, the discouraged, the disgraced, the battleground states, the 4 estates, plus every other person and place. This change does enable every ability to try. This change does simply because we must try, or else we all die. This change does present an irrefutable, indisputable, indubitably always true for all reason to try, for you and I. This change does demonstrate that we, the people, as humans on Earth, are willing to try, with heart, together. This change does generate ubiquitous joy, as hope is the greatest reason to celebrate with and for each other. This change does catalyze the tangible formation of a truly more perfect union, as one with heart, now always one for all. This change does unite the people as one earthly community, a one heart nation, now always one for all. This change does establish a heart-centric humanitarian earthocracy where all are one and all means all. This change does declare our independence from control. This change does decentralize, decorporatize, demonetize, and decolonize while rehumanizing, reprioritizing, restructuring, and recreating. This change does remember why we are here. Always, now, for all. This change does recognize the human reflection in each other's tries. This change does realize that only united we can. This change does remind the people that we are all people, and all people are power. State I am. This change does challenge all of humanity to become even greater than we have ever been. This change does engage the omnipresent opportunity for anyone, anywhere to try, at any time. This change does begin the very moment it is chosen. So, free will choose change right now. Choose free will right in change on November 5th and change everything for everyone, everywhere, evermore. Dare try. change works. Oh, and stay tuned for how change works. Until then, never stop trying. Cheers, y'all.